Chapter 5. The Trap. In the clearing by the pond, the girl introduced Taka to Cloud. As the pups took a nap, she groomed the mare and packed. Taka occupied himself with Kitten, speaking in the chattering tongue she used to address him, and listening gravely to her replies. The girl fought to understand what was said, with no success. "Is something wrong?" Taka wanted to know. "You are frowning." "I just don't see how Kit can have a language and actually talk in it, but I can't understand. I almost never have trouble talking to immortals." "Your magic permits you to speak mind to mind. Sky Song is not old enough for that. On the other hand, the spoken dragon language is one they are born knowing. My people are renowned for knowledge of all languages, mortal and immortal. Before humans forced us into the divine realms, we walked everywhere and spoke to all." He looked around. "Now I wander the mortal realm again, the first basilisk to do so in 4 centuries, thanks to that yellow mage." "What yellow mage?" "The one who brought me here. He did not mean to bring me, of course. I sneaked through in the wake of the storm wings he had summoned." Dane stared at him. "Where was this?" "Here. He lives on the castle island. I can see the aura of his power there, brighter than that of the other 4 mages who live inside those walls." More than ever, Dane wished Numer had not left so abruptly. "Goddess, let him return soon," she thought. "He needs to hear what Taka can tell us." She also wanted Brokefang to come, so they could leave the area of the pond. The thought of another Coldfang making its slow, relentless way up from the lumber camp made her skin prickle and her stomach knot. "Calm yourself," advised Taka when she cut her palm-slicing cheese for lunch. "I doubt that the mortals who sent the Coldfang to hunt even know that that one is dead." "But the men who sent him have scrying crystals," she protested. "They'll look for him in those—" "They may try." The thought was reassuringly firm. "Did I not say Coldfangs are thief-catchers? Too many thieves rely on magic. A Coldfang cannot be seen by magic, nor can one be stopped by it. They may be slain by human weapons, but, as you know, that can be difficult." She made a note of that as, in the distance, she felt the packs approach. "The wolves are here. They may be upset when they see you. Be patient, please." Kitten added a chirp, and the basilisk tickled her behind the ears. "I am always patient," he said. The wolves trotted out of the rocks and stopped, looking from Dane to Taka. Ears went flat. Hackles came up. "No!" she cried. "He saved the pups. There was a monster coming, and he saved all our lives." Quickly she explained the morning's events. Taka held still as Brokefang gave him a cautious sniff. "The Long Lake Pack thanks you," the chief wolf said at last. "We thank you for the lives of our young, and the lives of our friends Dane and Kitten." Looking at Dane, he said, "It sounds as if it is time for the pack to move." "Please," she said, thinking of immortals who could trace thieves. "I would feel so much better if we did." "I told you they would not soon place another Coldfang on your trail," Taka reminded her. "No, but them that sent it might come looking for the beastie," replied Dane, forgetting months of grammar lessons. "If they find that statue, they might be smart enough to keep looking uphill." "I know a place we may live in for a time," Brokefang announced. "There are caves by the western pass where we can den. You will like it. There are plenty of bats for you to talk with. We will go now if you are ready." The big wolf hesitated, then added, looking at Taka, "You are welcome to come there too." "I look forward to seeing your caves." "Then let us go," Cloud said. "I will feel better when we leave here." "Wait," Brokefang commanded. "The tools, the saws and the axes. If we leave them here, and men come, they will find them and go back to cutting trees." "You are the thieves?" There was surprise in Taka's cool voice. "You stole men's tools?" "They were scaring the game," Brokefang replied calmly. "We made them stop." Taka looked at Dane. His tone was coldly stern when he said, "This was a bad thing you told them to do. Men will hunt them and kill them for this." Stung by the unfairness of it, she cried, "It wasn't my fault!" It was Brokefang's plan, Fleetfoot explained. Short Snout yipped in approval. Battle said, Brokefang makes good plans. Show me, ordered the immortal. Russet led him into the reeds. Dane shook her head and loaded her things onto Cloud. She had finished when she heard that noise again, a screech with a deeper sound of tumbling rock underneath. It lasted for only a breath. When it stopped, Taka emerged from the reeds. Russet danced around the basilisk, leaping like a pup with joy. He did a good thing, the wolf said. He made the tools into rock. Now no one can lift them or use them to cut trees. Kitten whistled in glee. Brokefang grinned broadly. The younger adults, Battle, Sharp-Nose, Fleetfoot, and Short Snout, yipped happily, tails wagging. Longwind grumbled under his breath, not liking this newest change in his world. Frostfur sneezed in irritation. If everyone is happy, may we please leave? She demanded. I would like to be far from here before men come. Brokefang led the way through the rocks. The pack followed in single file as Taka, Dane, and Cloud brought up the rear. Kitten viewed the line of march from her seat atop Cloud's saddle, talking non-stop to Taka. They had gone nearly half a mile when Dane sensed immortals. Stormwings! She cried silently to the pack as Cloud bolted for the nearby trees. Hide! Longwind looked back at Dane. Wolves have nothing to fear from harriers, he said in his dignified way. They have no interest in the people. Dane, joining Cloud and Kitten under branches that hid them from the flyers overhead, yanked out her crossbow and fitted a bolt into the notch. She thrust extra arrows point first into the ground by her knee, ready to be fired. The wolves continued their leisurely trot down the trail. Taka dropped back so the Stormwings wouldn't think he was with them, but he stayed in the open. When the four-winged immortals saw him, they circled overhead. Basilisk! We seek two-leggers, called a filthy-haired brunette. What looked like old blood was streaked across her bare breasts. A man, tall for a human, with lots of magic, and a young female with dark hair. Seen 'em? Taka walked on, pretending not to hear. One Stormwing, whose human parts were the almond-shaped black eyes, black hair, and golden-brown skin of a Khmeri tribesman, dropped down until he could hover a few feet away from Taka. His back was to Dane as the girl raised her bow. If he saw her, she would kill him before he could take word of her to Tristan. Cloud gently clamped her teeth on the elbow supporting the bow stock. Don't, the mare warned. He hasn't done anything to you. Yet, Dane replied silently. They're evil, Cloud. You know they're evil. There's no such thing as a being who's pure evil, retorted the mare, just as no creature is all good. They live according to their natures, just like you. And their natures are evil, insisted the girl. No, their natures are opposed to yours, that's all. A wolf's nature is opposed to mine, but that does not make wolves evil. Until these creatures do you harm, leave them be. It is as the stork man told you. Learn tolerance. Unaware of his danger, the Khmeri Stormwing spoke to Taka. You want to watch that girl, Gravel Guts. She kills immortals. She likes it. She stole an infant dragon, you know, and sent the dragon mother to her death. Dane went cold with rage, hearing this version of Kitten's adoption. You see her? Make her stone before she puts an arrow in one of those sheep's eyes of yours. Flapper, replied Taka with gentle patience. Your calling begins to vex me. I am interested in neither your affairs nor those of mortals. Remember what I said. With a surge of his wings, the Stormwing rejoined his fellows. They circled one last time, jeering, then flew off. Only when they were gone did Cloud release Dane. Trembling in anger, the girl collected her arrows and put all but the one already loaded back in the quiver. The bow remained in her hand as she and Cloud rejoined Taka. Twice more on the walk to the western pass, Dane and Cloud were forced to take cover to avoid Stormwing searchers. Watching them, the girl realized there was something funny about the sky. She kept glimpsing odd sparkles of colored light winking against the clouds. At least it wasn't in her own mind. Taka admitted to seeing it when she asked. And the wolves, though they were unable to see color, said they noticed light sparkles overhead. They were about to cross the stream that flowed down from the gap in the mountains when Brokefang halted, nostrils flaring. The wind had brought some odd scent to his nose. Abruptly he turned right, heading along the stream bank, following the path Numer had taken the day before out of the valley. Now what? Dane asked hurriedly as the pack followed him. There aren't any caves that way, she called. She could hear the distant bat colony in her mind. To reach them, her group would have to cross the stream and follow the path Brokefang had taken to show her and Numera the view of the long lake. The wolves disappeared from view. Maybe they smell game or something, she grumbled, sitting on a boulder to rest her tired feet. A scream, a human scream, high and terrified, split the air. Seizing bow and quiver, Dane went after the wolves at a dead run. A horse galloped by, white showing all around his eyes as he raced toward the distant lake. Dane was reaching with her magic to stop him when she heard another scream. She let the horse go and ran in the direction from which he had come. The horse would be all right. She could tell he wouldn't stop until he reached his stable. Rounding a bend in the rocky path, she found the wolves in a clearing. They were in a circle, attention fixed on the small human at the center. "It's all right," Dane called. "They won't hurt you." The human whirled. Huge brown eyes stared at Dane from a face so white its freckles stood out like ink marks. The mouth dropped open in shock. "Dane?" It was Mora of Dunlath. "Horse lords," Dane said prayerfully. She didn't think those Chimeri gods could help at a time like this, but all the same, it couldn't hurt to ask. Mora gulped. "If they're going to eat me, can they get it over with?" Dane sighed. She could feel a headache coming on. How was she to keep out of sight, as Numera had commanded, when trouble dropped into her lap? "They won't eat you, Mora. That's just stories. Wolves never eat humans." "They taste bad," Short Snout added. "You know by the way they smell." "Everyone says wolves eat people." The girl wiped her eyes on her sleeve. Dane walked through the circle of wolves, pausing to scratch Battle's ears in Fleetfoot's ruff as she passed. "Everyone is wrong. They say wolves kill to be cruel, and no wolf kills unless he's hungry." She put a hand on the 10-year-old's shoulder. "Do I look eaten to you?" Mora stared up at her. "Well, no. These wolves are friends of mine, just like the castle mice." Mora looked at the pack. They looked up at her. "They're a lot bigger than mice," she said fretfully. "Who is she?" asked Brokefang. "Why is she here?" "Good question," replied Dane. "Mora, what are you doing here?" The girl's face went from scared to scared and mulish. "It's personal." Dane looked around. The ground nearby was trampled, as if Mora had let her horse graze here for a while before it smelled wolves and fled. Saddlebags and a bedroll lay under a nearby tree. The bags showed every sign of hasty packing. They bulged with lumps, and a doll's arm stuck out from under a flap, as if the doll pleaded to be set free. Mora's eyes were red and puffy. Her clothes, a plain white blouse, faded blue skirt, and a collection of petticoats, looked as if they had been put on in the dark. "You ran away." Mora clenched her fists. "I'm not going back. You can't make me." A starling flew by on her way through the path. She called to Dane, who smiled and waved back. Returning her attention to Mora, she asked sternly, "Just how did you think you were going to live, miss? Where would you go?" "My aunt, Lady Annis of the Minch, said I can visit any time." Obviously making up, the girl went on, "I even got a letter from her a week ago. Lady Mora," Dane began, "I may be human, but I am not stupid. That is the most—" Agony flared nearby. A life went out. It felt like the starling. Frowning, she went to investigate. 50 yards away, the bird's crumpled form lay in the road. She picked the body up, smoothing feathers with a hand that shook. The head hung at a loose angle. When she had first visited Newmar's tower, she had seen that birds couldn't tell that the windows on top of the buildings were made of clear glass. Many killed themselves flying into the panes before Dane warned them of the danger. The starling looked as if she had met the same end, but there was no glass here. Instead, Dane saw something else. The sparkles she had glimpsed against the sky were thick ahead of her. Near the ground, they formed a visible wall of yellow air flecked with pink, brown, orange, and red fire. Gently she put the dead bird on a rock, trying not to cry. Starlings died all the time, but this one need not have died here and now. "Be careful," Brokefang warned as she approached the wall. She put her hand out. The yellowish air was stone hard. It also stung a bit, like the shock she got from the rugs in Numar's room on dry winter days. When she pulled her hand back, her palm went numb. She looked north. The colored air stretched as far as she could see, forming an unnaturally straight line along the spine of the mountains. Toward the south, her view was the same. Behind her, Mora screamed. Dane turned to see what was wrong. The rest of her company had arrived, Taka bearing a sleepy kitten in his arms, Cloud walking behind the basilisk. "Stop it!" Dane ordered Mara crossly. "Those are my friends. If you don't quit yelling when you get upset, you'll bring Stormwings down on us." "I don't see giant lizards every day," complained Mora. "I am no lizard." Taka's voice was frosty. "He's no lizard," Dane said, looking at the barrier again. "He's a basilisk. His name's Taka." With her back to the girl, she didn't see Mora gather her nerve and curtsy, wobbling to Taka. Brokefang did, and approved. "The little one has courage," he said, showing Dane an image of what Mora had done. "You could be nicer to her. She is your own kind, after all." Dane bent, picked up a rock, and hurled it at the barrier. She had to duck to save herself from a braining when the rock bounced back. Picking up her bow, she checked that an arrow was secured in the notch. "Everyone get back," she warned. She sighted and loosed. The arrow shattered. "It's no good." The gloomy voice was Mora's. "You can't get through it. Nothing can. I would have ridden right into it, but my horse saw it and balked." "But where did it come from? When did it come? Was it here when Numer tried to leave the valley, or did it appear after?" "It was done last night," Taka said. "You must have felt something going on. The little one did. She told me so." Kitten chirped her agreement. Brokefang trotted up to sniff the barrier. He jerked back with a snarl when the air stung his nose. "Shh," Dane whispered, kneeling to wrap an arm around his shoulders. She looked up at the basilisk. "Taka, can you pass it?" "Yes," he replied. He thrust a paw through the barrier. It moved slowly as if in syrup, but it went. "It is only human magic." He withdrew the paw. "Could you carry me through?" The immortal shook his head. "I would not advise you even to try." Dane stared at the barrier. Would Numer be able to cross it on his return? He was a powerful mage, but even his gift had limits. On a nearby bush, a sparrow peeped a greeting and took off in flight. "No!" Dane cried with both voice and magic. Stunned without striking the barrier, the little bird dropped. She picked him up. She touched him with a bit of her fire, to bring him around and to erase the ache that would result from her overreaction. "I'm sorry," she explained as he roused, "but keep away from the colored stuff, all right?" Puzzled but obedient, the sparrow cheeped agreement and flew away. The girl turned to her oddly assorted audience. "First things first. I have to warn the birds about this before any more are killed. Then we'd best get under cover. Mora, we can talk then. Cloud, will you carry her ladyship's packs?" The mare nodded. "Load her," Dane told the younger girl. "This won't take but a moment." Sitting, she closed her eyes. Her studies had included shields to keep her from distraction by animal voices. Now she let her shields fall. The common talk of every vertebrate creature within range poured into her mind, then quieted when she asked for their attention. Dane showed them the barrier's image, the many-colored lights within it, and its terrible solidity. To that she added the image of the dead starling. The people acknowledged her warning. They would know the barrier when they saw it, and would avoid it. They would pass her warning on to those outside her 10-mile range, and keep sending it along until all Dunlath knew the danger. Finished, Dane rose. "Let's find those caves." The wolves led the way from the pass until they descended into a fold of rock. It was an entrance to a small cave, which in turn opened up onto a much larger one. A pond inside provided water, though it was bone-chillingly cold and tasted strongly of stone. Passages in the rear led to other caves, escape routes if the pack ever needed them. The company settled in. Dane relieved Cloud of her burdens and groomed her. Mora built a fire pit around a dip in the stone floor. The pack adults explored or napped. The pups were nowhere to be seen. Taka wandered about with Kitten in tow, gouging chunks from different stones with his talons. He tasted each sample carefully, discarding most and stowing the rest near Dane's packs. "What are they for?" she asked. "Supper," replied the basilisk. "Weapons?" suggested Mora, who couldn't hear Taka speak. "He eats them, he says," replied Dane, thinking this could be complicated if I'm forever translating when I should listen to animals. She conveniently forgot that she often did such translations for the king's staff and the writers. A full day and a restless night had combined to make her grumpy. Mora yelped. Dane spun to glare at her, and the younger girl clapped her hands over her mouth, looking guilty. The cause of her yelp had been the pups, who had come to the fire pit, each carrying a good-sized piece of dead wood. They dropped their finds and went racing outside for more. "I don't need help," Mora called after them, voice shaking. Avoiding Dane's eyes, she knelt to arrange tinder and kindling in the pit. "I guess they're chewing on logs because they can't eat me." She frowned. A fuchsia-colored puff of sparks flew up from the tinder. Within seconds, a small fire burned in the kindling, and she was feeding it larger pieces of wood. "I didn't know you had the gift," commented Dane, getting supplies and pans from her gear. "Not much of one," replied the 10-year-old. She built up the fire as the pups returned with more wood. This time she actually took a branch from Leaper, though her hand trembled as she did so. "I can light fires and candles and torches. Yolene hates it when I do that. We get the magic from the Conte side of the family, same as the king, but she doesn't have any. It's no good telling her lots of people from gifted families don't have the gift themselves. She thinks she'd look like a queen if she could light the candles with magic." Dane found a cloth ball and smiled. It was a basic soup mixture of dried barley, noodles, mushrooms, and herbs. With the addition of water and salt pork, it would make a good meal for 2 humans. Taking a pot to the spring, she filled it and brought it to the fire to heat. As she cut open the ball and poured its contents into the water, she said, "It seems daft, your sister worrying about what a queen looks like. Tortle has a queen, after all. A young, strong, healthy one. Unless they catches an arrow or a dagger somewhere, she's going to be queen a long time." Mora looked away. "It's just one of those things people worry about, even if it doesn't make sense. Don't mind me, I talk too much. Yolene says so all the time. Tell me how you got your dragon. Did you catch her in a net, or with magic, or how?" Dane was so upset at the suggestion of trickery that she launched into the tale of Kitten's mother dying to defend the queen at Pirate Swoop. It wasn't until she was dishing up the soup that she realized Mora had changed the subject, and quite effectively, too. Taka read this in her thoughts. "She is no fool, the little one. There is something quite serious on her mind." "She's only 10, Dane pointed out silently. "How serious can it be?" "And how old are you, grandmother?" She blushed and replied, 14. "Ah, a vast difference of years and experience. Certainly no one could believe her affairs are as vital as yours." "How's the soup?" she asked Mora hastily, before the tall mortal could make her feel even younger and sillier than she did just then. "Wonderful." Mora swallowed her mouthful of noodles, coughed, and said, "It's really good. And clever, how you had most of it in that cloth ball." "The riders use them for trail rations," Dane said, hearing voices in search of her. She put her bowl aside and got up, facing the rear entrances to the cave. The wolves gathered near her, ears pointed in the same direction. The bats streamed in from the lower caves to whirl around Dane in a dance of welcome. She laughed as the leaders came to rest on her clothes and hair, landing with the precision they used to find roosting spots among hundreds of comrades. These were little brown bats, 1.5 to 2 inches from crown to paw, with a wingspan of 3 to 4 inches. Clinging to her, they looked like brown cotton balls. Though the whole colony, nearly 3,000 animals, had come to greet her, most hung overhead rather than chance a welcome from Dane's other companions. They greeted her in high chittering voices, introducing themselves as the Song Hollow colony of bats. She asked if they minded that she and her friends were in their home. They didn't mind at all, they replied. All they asked was that her friends try not to make a meal of them. "I think I can promise that," she assured them with a smile. "But what if they taste good?" asked Short Snout wistfully. "It's true one wouldn't be more than a mouthful, but there are plenty of them here." "He's joking," Dane said when the bats screeched in alarm, their voices sending jolts of pain through her teeth. "Not about food," retorted Short Snout. "Meals aren't funny." Dane pointed to the entrance. "Out!" she commanded. "I probably wouldn't eat many," he said as he obeyed. "It would be too much like work to catch them anyway." Brokefang stretched. "We go to hunt," he told Dane. "Tonight the pups come too. It is time," he added as the young wolves, deliriously happy, frolicked around him. "Whatever we see, we will tell you." "Good hunting," Dane called. "Good hunting," added Taka. Startled by the basilisk's remark, Brofing asked, "Do you wish to come?" "I thank you, but no," Taka replied. Dane heard pleasure at the offer in his voice. "I will remain with Sky Song and the small two-legger." If Taka was willing to keep an eye on Mora, that left her free to try something. "Would you do me a favor?" Dane asked the bats. "You probably know from my sending before that the pass is cut off by some kind of barrier." "We had heard," one of the leaders replied. "As you hunt, would you explore the barrier and find its limits? You're the best ones to do it. You won't hit it, and if you all go, you can map the whole thing before dawn. And may I ride along with one of you?" After a short conference, the bats agreed. One of the leaders clambered from her perch on Dane's boot top to her collar. "I am Wisewing," she said, tiny black eyes sparkling. "You may try this magic with me." "Give me a moment," she said, tickling the bat's chin with a fingertip. "I have to sit." The other bats clinging to her took flight. Dane went to Mora, who was covering her head with her hands. "I need to go with them," she told the younger girl. "Why are you doing that?" "They'll get in my hair." Dane planted her fists on her hips. "Odds bobs," she said crossly. The brown eyes that looked pleadingly at her filled. She sighed. "Don't cry. I'm sorry. But Mora, they got in my hair because I invited them. Bats don't fly into hair. They never bump into anything they don't want to." "But everybody says everybody's wrong. See, they squeak at things, and listen to the squeak." She pointed to Wisewing's ears. The long sensitive flaps wriggled to and fro, hearing every bit of sound in the air. If the noise comes funny into their ears, they know something's there and they fly around it. They don't smash into glass, or even that barrier like birds do. Nothing's invisible to bats. Mora's hands left her hair. "How can you go with them? You can't fly." "Can you?" Dane shook her head. "Just with my magic, inside this lady." She patted Wisewing. Going to where her packs rested against the wall, she sat, using them as a cushion for her back. "Don't leave this cave," she cautioned Mora, "and you'd best go to bed soon. I have a feeling tomorrow's going to be a long day." Closing her eyes, she fitted herself into Wisewing instantly. Sounds poured into her ears, echoes from the cavern walls, each scratch of Taka's or Kitten's talons, clouds munching, wind blowing through the caves. Wisewing leaped into the air, reaching forward with her leathery wings and scooping air back with easy grace. They were in flight. The voices of the song-hollow bats rippled ahead of them, a river of sound that Wisewing followed eagerly. Cooler air brushed her face, and they were in the open. Dane could hear the rest of the colony flying along the barrier, heading north, south, and east in waves. Wisewing flew straight ahead, soaring until she skimmed the underside of the barrier's highest arch. "Please stop trying to see it," she protested. "You're making my eyes hurt. I don't use them that much. Listen for it. You can hear it everywhere." She was right. The barrier was a constant soft crackle of sound, reflecting the voices of the bats. Wisewing herself struck it constantly with her voice, and the returning echoes not only told her how far off it was, but that its underside was unnaturally smooth, like the inside of a bowl. Dane just had time to register a different, softer echo when Wisewing scooped the moth that had caused it into her waiting jaws. The taste reminded Dane of roasted honey-glazed duck. The bat's next victim was a tangy mosquito, followed by a moth that tasted more like fish. She'd always known that bats ate insects by the pound on their hunts, but it was one thing to know this in her mind, another to taste flavor after flavor on her tongue. "I don't want to slow you down by eating, but the big cold is soon," said Wisewing. "I must be as fat as possible by then, or I won't wake up." "I know," Dane replied. "You don't have to apologize." On they flew, the barrier solidly above them. From all around, other bats sang out information, comparing notes about the magic, the insect supply, and the weather. The crispness of the air made Dane feel giddy and silly. Then she heard something unpleasant in the distance. The bats' voices came to their ears from something big, something with leathery wings and claws. Her bat darted at the giant, squeaking at it from all angles, building a picture of the great creature in her mind. She had filled in little more than the huge wings and force of the talons when Dane guessed what it was. "Hurrock," she said nervously. "We don't need to hear more. Please, let's go." "Little squeaker, get away from me." The immortal's voice was much deeper than the chorus of bat voices surrounding him. "I don't like squeakers." Wisewing dove in, settling between the Hurok's wings. Chittering across the immortal's withers, mane, and ears, she picked up the sound of metal. It hummed with a sound the bat recognized as that of human magic. Interested in this new object, Wisewing fluttered across the immortal's chest to find that a metal band or collar went all the way around the Hurok's throat. I would have to pick a nosy bat, Dane thought, sick with nerves. It's a slave collar, Squeaker, the Hurok said. It means I must obey a human, a mortal wizard whose power makes it burn into my flesh with only a word. And do you know what that pain, and that knowing, and this collar do to me? They make me feel like tearing up every living creature I see. She heard a roar of air as something large snapped right over her head. The Hurok had tried to catch them in its teeth. Please, goddess, prayed Dane, let me get through this without losing my life, and I will be good forever. Scolding, Wisewing dropped down, letting the Hurok go its way. Don't let it scare you, she told Dane. It's much too big and slow to catch us. An owl is dangerous. You want to stay away from them, particularly barn owls. I shall keep that in mind, Dane replied. See that you do, the bat said firmly, and scooped up a fly. She didn't know how long she flew with the bats, but it must have been for hours. When she opened her own human eyes and lurched to the cave's entrance, false dawn had turned the eastern horizon pearly gray. She still heard the song-hollow bats as they returned to their home, greeting her as they flew by. Her mind full of Wisewing's memories, she identified each by his or her particular squeak. Singwing, chitter, eats moths, whistle, flutter. Reunited in the cave where they roosted, they sang their news. From their combined voices, Dane built a picture of the barrier's shape. By true dawn, her worst fears were confirmed. The wizard's barrier sealed off the entire valley, with no crack or cranny left for a determined girl to wriggle through. Mission done and bellies full, the bats went to sleep. Dane stayed at the entrance, listening to the shift of hooves on stone as Cloud changed position in her sleep. A soft munch that was Taka as he nibbled on a piece of rock. The bustle of voles in the grass. Her ears were tired and sore, the muscles around them cramped from use. Reaching up to rub them, Dane touched a long flap of leathery skin that flicked to and fro, catching every quiver of sound in the air. Her hand shook. Slowly praying to the goddess, the horse lords, Mithros, and any other god who might be listening, she felt the other ear. It too was long, and twitching independently of its mate, gathering every sound from that side of her head. She knew without looking that the stone of the cave entrance was 6.5 inches behind her, that Kitten lapped water from the spring, and that a raccoon on the mountainside 12 feet and 8 inches above her head was finishing a late-night supper of something crunchy, probably acorns. What is this? She thought, her skin prickling. Why is my body changing? It's staying right where I left it. I don't change when I do this. I just send my mind someplace else. How could I have bat's ears? Unless I'm just imagining that part of me changes. If I am, it means I'm going mad after all, she thought, strangely calm. Surely someone would have told me that it's possible to change part of yourself into something else. If I ignore these ears, they'll go away, or my mind will let go of them, or whatever. Maybe if I sleep, I'll wake up and be normal again. That seemed like a good idea. Returning to the large cave, she found her bedroll. When I wake up, the ears will be gone, and I won't be crazy, she told herself firmly as she slid into her blankets. She pulled the covers over her head just in case. If the ears were still there, she didn't want Mora to wake her with a scream.